So let's just jump into it here. Mr. Polite brought up the pre-spoiler or leaked or tracked cards that look like we might find out what's coming most of in Amonkhet Remastered, and one of the cards that looks like it's coming in Amonkhet Remastered is Thoughtseize, and this deck and decks like this are definitely going to be some of the biggest gainers from Thoughtseize being added to this format. Right now, I've got Shocks in the main deck, just a little bit of extra interaction, but I definitely think, like, once Thoughtseize is legal, we probably, like, cut one Ashiok and the 4 Shocks for, like, 4 Thoughtseize main, and then we can, like, move some Thoughtseize, or Shocks into the sideboard and cut some of, like, these discard spells that are a little bit worse than Thoughtseize. So, in general, this is a black-red aggro deck at the core. We've got hitters like Rotting Regisaur and Kroxa and Knight of the Ebon Legion paired with powerful finisher Embercleave to kill people very quickly. And then we've got a small blue splash for Nicol, Bolas, the Ravager as an evasive threat. You could definitely play this as a straight red-black deck with something like Spawn of Mayhem, but I do like Nicol, Bolas, the Ravager specifically on the splash because, one, I don't think it comes at that big of a cost, and two, Ravager gives us some nice staying power in the mid to late game against control decks that we generally wouldn't have, and this lets us steal some games that a more linear threat wouldn't necessarily let us steal. So I'm going to go ahead and pop on into some matches here with this. This is a deck that put up a good finish in a couple of our Hoaglandia Opens early on. It's in the proven section on my website. I think it's got good, relatively linear game plan to beat people down. Silver, thanks for the 5 months. Welcome back. And Monster Man, thanks for the 16 months. It's been good. Yes, Dragonskull, I see you. I heard you open the door. I've got a headset on, but I can hear you still. What? I can't hear you when you mumble, buddy.
Something to eat.
Can I make you something to eat? Your mother is upstairs and she will help you get something to eat. Why not? Oh, well, you can wait 2 minutes for her to finish feeding baby sister. Also, can you take these upstairs? I don't know why they're in my office. They're probably expired. Yeah, take these upstairs and throw them out. They expired in me. So, Witch's Oven here, going to make our things like Bonecrusher Giant much, much worse. I think I'm going to go ahead and just Kroxa here on 2 and hope to hit running lands, because if I hit a land next turn I can Ashiok, and then another land the following turn we can escape the Kroxa back out. They had a cat in their hand. Well, poop. Suno Tam, thanks for the 19 months. And Ian Bot, thanks for the 17 months. There's a good chance that, and like I said, it's been a hot second since we played this, so I'm happy we're getting back to it. There's a good chance that this deck just isn't as powerful as it was last time we played it, in large part due to this archetype that our opponent is playing. So, my experience so far in this format has been that the deck that our current opponent is playing, this Claim the Firstborn aristocrat style deck, whatever you want to call it, is very, very powerful, and it really punishes decks looking to play creatures. And none of the decks I've played that play small creatures in this matchup feel like they're competitive. Like, not only do they have Mayhem Devil and Priest to punish your creatures, but they have the ability to steal them with Claim the Firstborn as well, and it's tough to beat them by attacking because of the Cat Oven combo. So it really feels like this archetype chokes like traditional honest aggro out of the format pretty hard. Morning Fox. Fair Cracks, thanks for the 7 months. Welcome back. Yeah, it's good to have playable Magic formats. I'm glad Historic, I'm glad they took poopy cards like Teferi out of Historic. Still looking forward to Standard rotation. It's going to be interesting. There's a couple of big Standard tournaments going on this weekend. It'll be interesting to see what the results from those look like, if the format looks healthy or not. don't have double red. I guess I'm just playing this. Maybe I'm supposed to Kroxa to take the last card out of their hand. I don't know. The problem with Kroxaing here is that they just get to, like, beat me down. I'm probably close to that if I Kroxa'd. And this is the other part too, right? Like, you can't just beat the opponent's deck by gumming up the board either. They're just going to sit here and, like, loop the cat in and out. Like, they get 3 damage per loop on the Cauldron Familiar. Morning, Robert. Thank you for the 29 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Hoping to draw what? Like, red Source into Cleave here? Alright. And again, I just can't, like, attacking doesn't do anything because they have cat. So, like, I can escape this, but, like, I can't even attack with my 7/6 here. Now, post-board, we will get to bring in Rampaging Ferocidon, which is decent against the cat. It at least makes them take damage when they're looping the cat instead of just us just going down. Very, very dead. They banned the cat in Standard, a crappy lawyer. So you explicitly will not see a lot of cat oven in that event because it's not legal. Is that? No, I'm pretty sure it's Standard. Did I miss that? Is it historic? No, yeah, it's Standard. Oh, wait, that's his 15. What's the one going on right now? Today. No, yeah, all of them are Standard. Maybe do a double tick there. I'm gonna bring in the Heartless Act because they kill Mayhem Devil. I'm gonna cut Bonecrusher Giant because Oven means you don't get to get the extra effect from it. Anyways, we're gonna bring in Dragon God, a little bit of a grindy tool. I think I like this. Rotting Regisaur, just like chews up our hand, it gets jump blocked, so Rampaging is the better threat. This is a matchup where having flying threats like Phoenix and Nicol Bolas is very good. You get to just go over the top of their kitty cat. Sure. Oh, right. It was spinning this morning. Alright, Stream Decker should be good. Thanks for the heads up. Ryan the Mime, thanks for the 11 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. The kids actually aren't super into Pokemon Go. Much to Christy's into it more than I am. Most of my mobile gaming these days is playing Raid. Hey, Jayhawk, thanks for the 1.5 years. You'll see, Historic is a format that's going to change and develop a lot over the course of the next year. Well, I guess the next year is probably a little bit too much. Historic's going to change and develop a lot over the course of the next, like, 6 months. So, Amonkhet Remastered and then Pioneer Remastered should both likely bring large changes to the format. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. These have Menace as well, so they don't just get chump blocked by Cat, which is great. Hoping to dodge Maelstrom Pulse here. Hey, thanks for 2/3 of a year, Master Beardsman. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Took me longer than I'd like to admit to realize Pioneer Masters wasn't a paper set. Yep, it is not. Do they have a Mayhem Devil here? They only have 2 Mayhem Devil triggers, right? So we're in a pretty okay spot. So they could sack this, hit this, bring it back. If this targets my face, we're going to be in an incredible spot. Yeah, because this means they can't kill either Ferocidon. And, like, if they bring the cat back, they take 2. This card's very good. Enjoy. Nice grindy deck. Grind me out, daddy. Alright. I'll take 1, you take 2. Good chat. Cleave ho! True Bending or Lightning Strike instead of Shock to kill more Mayhem Devils. No, I think the resource efficiency on Shock is pretty important. Couldn't they sack the other food with on the stack to kill Ferocidon? Yeah, you're right. That would be a legal play. You are correct. Sure. Hand's pretty good, actually, right? We theoretically curve like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Need to draw some lands, famous last words. It's a great draw as well. Firstborn hath been claimed. Have food. Alright. Just like we drew it up. Hey, Allocane. Thanks for the 2/3 view. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Wonder if I'm supposed to wait on this. Yeah, the fact that they used a claim so aggressively on this, I feel like kind of implies that they have another... Maybe I'm just supposed to Ashiok there. Although getting, like, these things claimed before I Kroxa is probably a winning move for me overall. I think I want to just get Ashiok going, because Ashiok gives us 8 looks at a Kroxa off the top. The classic mill 3 lands while hoping to draw a land. There, that'll do pig. See if we can find a Kroxa. Otherwise, we'll just Nicol Bolas. What are the odds they have a third claim? 100%? That's true. A Braid will be a good addition to the format against their archetype. The good news is if they claim this, they might kill Ashiok, and then I have enough to escape this again. So we'll kill this. We'll attack them, take a card. We'll Kroxa take their other card. Yeah, a Braid will be a good addition to our archetype for fighting this matchup too. So keep the one that doesn't go away. Just basically cast 2 mana Raven's Crime. I'm gonna go ahead and mill myself, exile their graveyard. So it should solidly be in garbage time at this point, and our deck's not going to spend a lot of time in garbage time. We're going to close out pretty quickly. Anger's actually not particularly good against their deck because of Oven. So something like Cry that exiles things that already went to the graveyard that turn is reasonable against the opponent's archetype, but Anger is frequently not going to exile their stuff. It's awkward for a lot of the same reasons as things like Bonecrusher Giant are awkward in that matchup. Decks like this having, our deck having Thoughtseize also gives us some more kind of generic answers to things like Oven. Yeah, like this deck that we're playing, like, I don't think you want to Braid in the main, but like, probably 2 in the 75. Just a good generic flexible card that's like removal spell. Like, it's like, a Braid is like super uniquely good in the Cat Oven matchup too, right? Because like killing Oven and Mayhem Devil are like their 2 most important things. And it does either. And getting to kill either of those for at a 2 mana rate is like really, really good. Opponent mulled to 5. Morning, Marty. Or afternoon for you on the right coast, I should say. Silva Smote Ghoul, Merfolk Branchwalker. Alright, you have my attention. Sorry, those are pretty good hits. I like when my 2-1 with Death Touch cantrips. Let's say no blocks on this for now. I think we're going to shock this Merfolk Branchwalker down the line. That's a really solid curve. Good clean value there. Mill this on 2, flip that out on 3. I like it. I don't know if they're necessarily a dredge deck, but like some kind of mid-range value engine, it looks like. The style of archetype, can't wait for Satyr Wayfinder. That'll be a tool we'll very likely get in the fall when we get Pioneer Masters. I cut the 4th Paradise Druid, so I wanted to be greedy. I also put that archetype up on my website, so you can definitely check it out there. This card sacrifices to draw a card too. Seems like some sweet utility. Wonder if they're playing any copies of Sorin. Wow, it works with Wild Growth Walker too. That's crazy. Their deck's really sweet. Good clean value. I don't know how it ever beats a Cat Oven, but it's got a neat engine. Land's actually a pretty good draw here, because it lets me go tapped land, Regisaur, plus shock something this turn. That's a block. They have a removal spell? They did shock in a land. They might have a removal spell of their own here. Wow, that's actually really unfortunate. Huh. So they're going to get to escape Uro here because they blocked now. They have 6 cards in their bin plus the intervention. And I lost both my pieces of graveyard value. I have Triton to trade with that eventually at least. Kind of surprised we didn't see them attack with or sacrifice these. I guess they want them on blocking duty here. Because these would have come back when Uro came into play. Alright, well, we're 1 land off of Nikki B. Getting to flip on over. Embercleave would be an excellent draw at any point as well. Really, really surprised to not see them using these more aggressively. Got a Hydroid Grixis coming. We have 8 mana here. Could be Hydroid Grixis. Yeah, I don't know how they're... I don't know how their deck ever beats something that's just like, not kind of mid-rangey like we are. Yeah, and something Nicol Bolas does really well, right? Like, normally, a deck like ours drawing lands at this point is just like, just doesn't do anything, but like, we have actual live draws. Like, the lands are like, actually not just dead draws, which is great. Opponent just like, gained a casual 12 life last turn, no big deal. Yeah, they've actually just played like 0 interaction aside from Erebos' intervention, right? There are 3 cards in the bin. Wonder if we'll see them start attacking in so they can get more stuff in there for Uro. So if I throw away a Rotting Regisaur, I can play and escape Kroxa. But I don't know if that's necessarily good, right? I think the play is just double activate Phoenix of Ash and then crack them for 10. Because they only have 9, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. They have, is it 20 damage here? Count. This is 7, 10, 13, 16. They have 19 damage exactly. They need 2 more cards in here to escape an Uro. Are we dead to Jade Light off the top? I don't think so. We have 2 blockers. Yeah, fingers crossed for no Maelstrom Pulse, which is a card they could very realistically be playing. That is a very good draw. They also had a lot of draws though, so like, pretty good chance they were going to find a good one at some point. So, like, the fact that they drew Stitcher Supplier means that I'm incentivized to block now because they're going to get to escape burrow regardless. Yeah, I've been doing daily streams for, like, the last 2 or 3 weeks now, Crazy Duck. That's why my streams during the week have been a little bit shorter each day, because I've been live 6 to 7 days a week. You can always find my schedule up on my website as always. Alright, well, they're currently dead on board, right? Alright. God bless the brick wall that is Rotting Regisaur. I'm gonna be honest. I'm really surprised we won that game without Embercleave or Ashiok. Yeah, flying confirmed busted. Rampaging Ferocidon seems excellent again. Ashiok seems very good against what they have going on. Honestly, I wonder if this card seems like it's going to have a really difficult time getting in, so I think we just, like, pull up a little bit and try and be a little bit bigger deck. Do I want Nicol Bolas if I'm pulling up? I probably have a hard-ish time protecting him. Okay, I think I like this. Yeah, seems fine. That's a fantastic pickup. So we can go 2, 3, 4. Run their butt right out the door. Gotta go right now. Gotta go right now. I mean, you're definitely not alone in being close to being done with Arena 2 rotation. I mean, I was literally gonna be done until rotation, and they pulled us back in. Is there any tension between having enough cards to escape Phoenix and Kroxa? You want the flexibility. Also, like, the 3 main deck Ashioks that we have, like, you gotta remember, Ashiok left unchecked can put 20 cards in our graveyard, and having 6 things that Ashiok can flip into is a big deal. I think I'd rather Regisaur here since they played a 4-3. So, like, having lots of things that Ashiok can draw you into when it down ticks is important. We also have, like, Mire Triton as another graveyard enabler too, which is nice. Okay, took my Phoenix. Probably binning the second Bolas here. Is that a good draw? The chip block there makes me worry about a sweeper a little bit, but, like, there isn't a black sweeper that kills both of these, right? Is Historic filled with Nexus of Fate? That would be impressive if it was, considering that card is banned. Alright, so this is 16-20, and they're at 20 with the blocker. Cleavo! Cast Splinter Twin on Deceiver Exarch. Bye, friend. I feel like there is a criminally low amount of Embercleave in this format since we came back to it. And I know getting Embercleave feels miserable, but like it's really busted, chat. It's a big part of what makes this deck good. And I feel like there isn't an appropriate number of people Embercleaving other people in this format. I don't know why that is, but I feel like a good way to just kill people right now is just figure out an Embercleave deck. Yeah. Embercleave and Ferocidon are both excellent Magic cards. Easy mulligan here, because lands. Precip! Excited to see my deck today. One change is cut a Butcher for a Vengeance. I'll remind you when the set starts. Yes, please remind me when the set starts. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to bottom the Nicol Bolas. Am I? Bottom the Ashiok, actually. I wish I knew what kind of archetype they were playing. Like, there could be a good chance that, like, Shock just doesn't have text. So if they're playing a control deck, I'm very sad about my mulligan. Is this the same person we just played against, or is it a different person? Does anybody remember the username? Or did a content creator post a video with this deck list? Small silver smote ghoul. Uro action. Oh, you're right. This is a different person. I remember that username now. This build might be a little bit different than the last one. Bio Quartz. Yeah, this build looks different than the last one. And the previous build we had played against. It's a little scurry. I'm gonna go ahead and stomp and shock our way through some blockers and attack for 2 here. Gold Dead Ringer, thank you for the 16 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Yeah, this opponent looks to be more all in on the graveyard plan, whereas the previous deck we played against was more of like an explorer mid-range, just like had incidental value via Silver Smote. Silver Smote with Bio Quartz is also kind of a combo, huh? Seems really powerful. Because both of these, this comes back and this comes back. They can mutate this from the bin. This is good. This is good with Merfolk Seeker Keeper too here. This build's really neat. I don't know how it does. And like this is the problem with decks like what this opponent is playing and our previous opponent is like they're okay against us where They seem okay against us, where our deck's not super linear. We're a little bit like mid-range aggro, but like they haven't played any interaction, right? So like people who are more linear than us, I wonder if they're still competitive in those matchups. Would be my question / wonder. Yeah, and like this too, and like this is just like one of the things that's just like so incredibly not skill testing about Magic that just like almost every other card game does that I really wish Magic had. Like, could you imagine if I just like knew what deck they were playing and like kept this Ashiok instead of Ashiok? Like their deck just doesn't function. This is like an entirely different game because I had to make an uninformed mulligan decision because of how Magic works. Like Hearthstone, Runeterra, even Hex when we played that, all of those games allow you to be familiar with the metagame and make informed mulliganing decisions. Just like adds an incredible layer of skill testing, rewarding gameplay that Magic just doesn't have. It's actually one of the reasons why I really love open deck list tournaments. In the age of digital, open deck list tournaments are basically a necessity to like level playing field because of coverage, but even in general, I just like open deck list to some degree just so you can have that skill testing element that rewards players for being able to make good decisions. I think, again, I'm just pulling up here, similar to what we did last time. I think I'm going to bring in a couple of the Agonizing Remorse this time, though, because it's going to exile cards from their bin as well. So not quite the same archetype that we played against in the last match, but similar. So we're going to board in a similar way. Morning Punchworthy, thank you for the 54 months. And you get a 60-month sub badge, Dud. I got 6 months. 6 months to get a 60-month sub badge. We can work that out. I was thinking the 60 months would be like a dragon to defend your castle. Feel like there's dragons in Hoaglandia. No, it's not. It's definitely just bias after seeing their archetype. Ashiok is very bad in aggressive matchups. They played Drowned Catacomb on 1 instead of Duressing me. And now Duress has no target, so that seems fine. I think I'm just taking one of their ghouls away here. What is my opinion on the recent bannings? The best time to ban the cards that they banned was last year. The second best time was when they did it. I'm glad they finally pulled the trigger. A whale to defend your castle. Whale-related things will never be related to sub-badges. Whale-related things are always going to be related to bits here. Immediately punished for not taking the Laziv. Yeah, it feels like we're pretty dead. I'm gonna go on to the next one. And that's the tough part about this deck that we're playing too here is there's a good chance that this deck is just worse than a less interactive, more linear Embercleave deck. Just because Magic hasn't been in a spot in a pretty long time where like being a mid-rangey interactive deck is very, very good. And like, yeah, if the previous opponent's deck can like not just die to the Cat Oven deck, it's probably really neat, but I'm skeptical. Like, their deck had no interaction in it, right? And like, the Cat Oven deck is just gonna destroy it whenever they have Priest or Mayhem Devil out or Cat Oven or Trail of Crumbs to get their whole engine going. So like, again, it seems neat while beating up my kind of mid-rangey deck, But when you look at the actual format and look at what else is going on, it's like, oh, like, is this actually going to be good against, like, what is arguably the best deck in the format? Like, can it sufficiently race its Uros getting claimed and then take it? Getting claimed and then sacrificed, etc. Looks like the Aura's deck here. I wonder if I'm supposed to attack with Mire Triton here, because if they block and pay 4, it makes my knight bigger. I know the Death Touch has value as the game goes along, though, against their larger threats, in case they play something that's not just a Danto. I'm gonna be in the Ashiok here, so this way if I draw a land, I can go Shock plus activate this. Now I think we're just activating this and smacking them. Can't block this anyways, right? Might as well attack. Down to 5, go. Yeah, I saw Autumn streaming that the other day. Seems neat. Very similar to the... We played a slightly bigger version of that when Agent of Treachery was legal. That ramped up into that in addition to being able to draw its entire deck in its entirety. So Staggering Insight lets them lifelink for 5 here, but we still have them dead on the backswing. Was that a good draw, chat? Cleave ho! Thanks for the 19 months, Smith. I appreciate that. Welcome back. I think this is a matchup where we trim some of the Kroxas because they're kind of slow. Ashiok doesn't really impact them. I guess Ashiok technically exiles their graveyard, which they kind of care about, but I feel like by the time their graveyard is relevant, we should be done already. The game should mostly be decided. I'm going to leave Mire Triton in because we do still have Phoenix and Kroxa, and Death Touch is relevant like we talked about. Bring in some extra removal, bring in Rampaging Ferocidon to the Neither Life game. Hey, CG Silvestro, thanks for the 5 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. Dead Beardsley, thank you for the 7 months. Welcome back to Oglandia. Sir Reginald Tiny Arms. He swings the sword. So, unfortunate mulligan here. This hand would be super keepable if we could go 2, 3, 4. However, because this hand needs to draw a red source, this hand basically needs to draw lands and spells to be good, which I think means it's not good enough. This hand, on the other hand, while not being super exciting to look at, only needs to draw spells to be good, right? So I'm going to go ahead and keep it. I think I'm going to go ahead and mulligan the Sulfur Falls here, so that way I can shock on one potentially if we feel like we need to. Good chance we knight on one, but just on the off chance we felt like we wanted to hold up shock. Kroxa, just scotch awkward here. Like, it's a 2-mana play, but it doesn't add pressure to the board onto you, which feels bad. We'll see if they go threat plus protection here. Feel like that's likely, and then having 2 removal spells here should be good. Start by attacking, so I assume they're not going to block. So I'm going to shock this, and then when they protect it, we'll Heartless Act it. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't expecting that to just work. Really surprised they didn't put Lurrus in their hand. They're like wanting to play around discard spells here. Alright, we take those. The Auras deck is a deck that's very good. The Auras deck's another good deck that, like the Sultai decks we played against, probably have a really hard time against, but people that interact with the Auras deck have a reasonable time against it. Alright, Grixis Gates, I choose you. This is definitely a hand that's a good example of our third color costing us a little bit. If we were a just red-black deck, this would be a basic swamp, most likely. I actually think the Pyromancer deck's pretty well suited for the Auras deck as is. You have Disfigures and the fungal infections that like deal with their indestructible stuff okay. Super rewarded for sequencing. Regisaur is not fantastic when they get Cat Oven set up. Hopefully that doesn't happen this turn. Just a priest, sure. Hoping to draw a land or a 1-mana spell this turn, like Knight of the Ebon Legion. Nailed it. This lets us go stomp you, play a knight, hit you for 8, level them both up, not have to discard anything next turn. And then we're just hoping to draw castable spells from here on out. I know Regisaur looked okay this game, but we're definitely going to be boarding Regisaur out. It is just not good against Cat Oven. There is a small chance they're playing red-black Pyromancer and not Cat Oven, but if that ends up being the case, we can always board Regisaur back in for the third game. Yeah, I think I like this. Maybe on the draw, I'd rather have Bonecrusher than Knight. Just have more ways to kill their priests, guaranteed. Can I keep a hand on the draw without a 2-mana spell? Let's find out. We'll get him game 3 on the play if not, huh? Like, my threshold for keepable hands tends to be lower when I have all of my colors in my 3-color deck too. This could imply they're more likely to be the Pyromancer deck than the Cat Oven, although some Cat Oven variations do play Mire Triton as well. And get releases on the 13th. Confirmed Pyromancer deck. It will be legal for the open on the 16th. Amonkhet Remastered will help control decks against Field. You mean Field of the Dead? Why would Amonkhet explicitly help against Field of the Dead? Can you explain? Did I get any preview cards? Lol. You're not new here, Brandon. I feel like I want to board my Knights back in on the play. Go either way on that. Maybe trimming the Ashiok is wrong against their Kroxa deck. I agree, Jerry. A braid's going to be a big upgrade for red decks of the format in general. Alright, let's draw some lands, huh? Yeah, maybe it's to go. I wonder what format people are playing, because my experience playing control decks in this format so far is, again, that Field of the Dead is not the card that's beating your control decks. It's the Ulamogs and the Ugins that are, like, stuffing my control decks in a little box and telling me I can no longer win the game. So I feel like there must be some kind of disconnect between the games I'm playing and the games other people are playing. I think there's also a chance that, like, the bias against Field of the Dead comes from people that are, like, hurt from that card when it was standard legal still. I don't know. My experience just has not been so far that, like, Field of the Dead is this huge issue in the format. What is your control deck doing specifically to hedge Ulamog? Are you playing, like, the 6-mana counterspell? I think I want to just stomp this and then replay this. Oh, I shouldn't have shocked in. They're going to play the stupid sacrifice card here, and I'm going to lose my Bonecrusher. Maybe I am just supposed to attack with this. Yeah, I just cost myself 2 points of life there that I didn't have to. Whirlwind Denial. Okay. See, the problem with Whirlwind Denial is that Whirlwind Denial draws dead in that matchup pretty quickly a lot of the time, right? Like, if they do it on exactly 10, it's fine, but, like, the decks that are playing Ulamog can pay 4 around Whirlwind Denial in a lot of games. Oh, this card is so offensive. Well, they sacked it before they got their second hit in, I guess, so thanks. We'll take the little things, I suppose. I should be at 6. I don't know, it's tough. I feel like we got pretty lucky to beat the Cat Oven deck we played against. I feel like creature decks like what we're playing just largely, more often than not, aren't competitive against these Claim the Firstborn decks. Like, there aren't really cards you can play to offer counterplay there. You basically just have to, like, cross your fingers and clench your butt cheeks and hope that they don't have it, as is frequently the case in Magic. I guess Thoughtseize will maybe give us a little bit more play there. No, I don't think that archetypes really needed any meaningful changes, Mox Mulder. As always, you can always find my latest variations for all deck lists that are on my website. Whenever there are large format changes, I do a once-over to all the decks up there and try and think through changes that might be good for them. Yeah, Priest and Claim just slaughter these creature decks. 2, 3, 4 technically. Hey, good games, Wiggle. As a heads up, I don't know if you misclicked or just missed it, but you missed a 5-pointer on the turn you stole my thing. Is it Ed in a double strike with the sword? Yeah, and like not only is Regisaur a little bit awkward against Claim, but Regisaur is also not stellar against the Cat Oven, right? Like the cat just blinks in and blinks out and like fogs your 7-mana attacker. You did. Yeah, I was at 16 and you only hit us once. It didn't matter. We were dead by a lot. Good luck in the rest of your laddering today. I thought your username looked familiar. Well, you've got an H out here. There actually has not been that much goblins in Historic, in my experience. Yep. Just can't win. And like I said, we've talked about this on stream recently too. I'm actually not really convinced that Goblins is actually a deck that's a problem in this format. I'm just trimming most of my graveyard value stuff, boarding in more removal and the anti-life gain. This is basically a removal spell in this matchup. Yeah, I think the Bogle's deck basically destroys anything that's linear and non-interactive. Yeah, the red-black sacrifice deck, it gives goblins a tough time too. I think if you asked me to pick the best deck in this format right now, some variation of red-black sacrifice would be that. Not offhand, Telehedon. I'm sure if you posted in the subs Discord, or even just in chat here, someone would be happy to take it off your hands. It's gonna do cool stuffing stuff at some point. They do ship internationally, though. You know, the shipping cost eats a little bit more of what your voucher's worth, but they will mail stuff to you. Yeah, I agree, Stigall. I think if both decks are ignoring each other in this format, this deck that the opponent's currently playing is probably one of the best decks you can be playing. Your goal is simply to ignore one another. Opponent's archetype also isn't just guaranteed cold removal. Between things like Selfless Savior and Luris and Iliad, they have a lot of ways to keep their things going. Between their lifelink enchantment and Hushbringer, they're frequently incredibly difficult to race. Yeah, maybe because I actually boarded my Kroxas out, but maybe because they're playing Hushbringer, I should board them back in. Alistair Stone, thank you for the 11 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. And I've been the land to keep the haste creature here. I'm going to go ahead and offer to let them eat the Mire Triton by paying 4 life with their Vanguard, because that means they're taking a hit from Regisaur. See how much lifelink they're able to stack on Hushbringer this turn. Not enough, apparently, is the answer. But it's stuck on some lands there. Feel that. Am I supposed to bring back in Kroxa because they have Hushbringer? Is that crazy? It doesn't feel crazy. Arvik, thank you for the 17 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. I think because this hand's missing a second red, I'm supposed to mulligan. That's close. Yeah, this hand's great. Has all of our colors in it. We'll bottom of Sulfur Falls here. We don't have a 2-mana play on 2, but we can just play a tap land at least, so that's nice. Opponent's on the play, kept 7. We get to curve. If we draw a 2-drop here, we have a really solid 2-3-4 curve with the Embercleave. Of course, Spirit Dancer is just such an incredibly powerful card when left unchecked, and like with Selfless Savior on 1, it frequently just goes unchecked. That's fine. It's a free attack and a free block. And again, opponent's going to get linear very quickly here. Their core Spirit Dancer provides them a nice engine to allow them to continue attacking constantly. They have both evasion and other things that make it hard for us to keep up. There's bit stats of Jeskai Alliance. Sounds good, J-Man. They don't have lifelink yet, at least. The fact that we've had to do 4 damage to ourselves with our mana base this game is a big deal. If they have, like, any more enchant creature at this point, we're probably dead. They don't. That's good for us. So you're saying there's a chance. Is chat in sub-only mode? I believe so. I believe that to be the case. Feels kind of dead, man. It's probably gonna do it. Spenzor, thanks for the 14 months. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. If Red-Black Sack isn't the best deck in the format, it's probably this one. Just both good decks that have powerful linear draws and are able to punch through their opponents trying to interact with them. Yeah, I mean, like, as is always the case in Magic, Dema, like, if you play narrow specific answers and your narrow specific answers line up into what they have going on, you're going to have a good time. So when you elect to not be linear and you elect to play interaction, you're always crossing your fingers and hoping that the interaction you've elected to play meaningfully lines up into the things you're going to play against. And in formats that have varied archetypes, generally speaking, your interaction's not going to hit a wide enough range of things and you're going to get screwed a large amount of the time. So in general, playing decks like the opponent's archetype that's more linear tends to be the more profitable thing to do if you're worried about maximizing your win rate. Looks like the Aura's deck again here. The Aura's deck is honestly probably the best laddering deck in this format. It's very, very aggressive. It plays lots of quick games. Imagine the Sacrifice deck is probably better head-to-head. Yeah, I would imagine that to be the case. Priest of the Forgotten Gods against creature decks that don't have a lot of removal tends to be very good. Tough to beat. Stimulating and engaging games of Magic the Gathering, chat. Glass Casket is reasonable removalness from... Yeah, definitely. I think Glass Casket is just objectively worse than Baffling End, unless you're playing some kind of corner case like 4-mana card and tutoring Glass Casket from your sideboard. In general, I'd say Baffling End's probably the better removal of those two. You'd much rather have your opponent get the 3/3 with Trample than the thing you're removing a lot of the time. Is it odd that as a player who mostly plays control decks, I'm looking forward to playing mono red on Thursday more than anything else? No, traditional mono red is going to get a big boost, right? Who's looking forward to sliding Embercleave onto a Hazoret? Rammernap rooms to finish people off. Soulscar Mage is just a really good threat. Soulscar Mage giving you another thing that makes Wizard's Lightning incidentally cheaper is huge. I think we mulligan this since it doesn't have a blue source and it has Nicol Bolas. I'm gonna keep the Kroxa on the off chance they what's it called me? Hushbringer. On Crop Crasher. An Earthshaker Kenra. I could see Earthshaker being good because Earthshaker like brings itself back from the graveyard as like a value card in the long term. I feel like on Crop Crasher, my gut says that card's probably been outclassed at this point, but I could be wrong on that. Interesting to see how it plays out, how those cards have survived the test of time as power levels of these formats have scaled up. And again, just like, even if I draw interaction, it's not meaningful because of Selfless Savior. As far as, like, racing goes, I basically just can't race them having a giant lifelinker, so we're just dead. A lot of these games seem to go that way. Not a lot of play on either side. Either they play their thing, they don't have protection, we kill it, they die. Or they do have protection, we can't kill their thing, we die. Glorybringer with Sentinel's Eyes. I feel like Sentinel's Eyes with Crasher probably isn't something you're really into, but giving Glorybringer Vigilance to allow it be a control card while it kills them sounds sweet. Does Vigilance stop the downside of Exert? Yeah, Exert just says your thing doesn't untap the next turn, so if you give it Vigilance, you can attack and exert it every turn. So, tapping the creature as part of Exert isn't a requirement. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing a crappy blue-red Wizards deck with Soulscar Mage. We're getting Nimble Obstructionist in this set, which is one of, like, my all-time favorite crappy tempo evasive cards. Like, as someone who's registered way more Nimble Obstructionist than I should have in Modern, historically speaking, looking forward to that one. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack stifled your Fable Passage. I don't like, again, like, the people that are asking questions about keeping goblins in check, what format have you been playing? Because it hasn't been the one I've been playing for the last week now. I don't think goblins makes the list of things that I feel like need to be kept in check at the moment. We barely play against them, and when we do play against them, if they don't have their nut draw, they basically lose. Maybe they're playing best of one? Okay, I can believe that. Maybe that's the format they're playing that I'm not playing. I am definitely not playing best of one. I forget that best of one is a thing. God, best of one historic. Like, if historic moves in the direction that, like, modern and other non-rotating formats always go with time, it's really gonna be an awful best of one format. Could you imagine, like, people who are paper boomers, could you imagine playing modern as a best of one Magic format? Like, that sounds truly horrendous, right? Best of one Legacy? Yeah, that does not sound like the best of times. Is there a Nimble Obstructionist deck in the queue? There is not. I wasn't taking AHK submissions until we had set spoilers, then the whole set got leaked, so we've got a couple in there now. Getting Rip and Amonkhet Remastered will be interesting as well. Why? What decks in the format do you think Rip is meaningful against? Actually, I guess my big question to you is, where do you think Rip is more meaningful than Grafdigger's Cage? Because Grafdigger's Cage is a premium because it impacts things like goblins. So I kind of disagree with your assessment that that's a meaningful addition to the format. Was that a good draw, chat? Above average, maybe? I don't think Rip is better than Cage at all. RIP stands for rest in peace. So I'm going to keep this land in my hand, so that way we can discard it next turn to have a card to escape Kroxa. Sure. Corner cases like Enigmatic that explicitly get hurt by their own cages, sure. Scale of 1 to dead. What are we working with here? Dead side of the scale. Alright. I don't know. This matchup feels like a coin flip. The games don't feel very interesting or like I have a lot of meaningful decisions in them. It's very A, B, did I have removal, did they have protection, and then like how that question gets answered, they lose. They win or lose, the game gets win or loss decided on that. Doesn't strictly seem bad though. It's a nice way to describe Historic. I mean, it describes some of the key decks in Historic for sure. I don't think all of the games are like that. Like the Enigmatic control deck we played yesterday, I think has a lot of really sweet decisions and lines in it. It's one of the reasons why I enjoyed playing it and threw it up on the website. But like, you know, linear aggro deck's gonna linear aggro, right? I'm gonna put the Sulfur Falls into play here so I can double shock next turn just in case. The Enigmatic deck is sweet, but the fact that it costs $350 to build from scratch reminds me why I haven't put Timer Buddy into Arena. Yep. You're not wrong. Are they okay? Yeah, they're fine. They're 5 and 6 is what they are. They don't believe in playing games quietly. when we were able to get a second Nintendo Switch, we put the other Switch in the basement out here behind me. So that way, when Christy's sleeping upstairs and they're yelling like that while they play their game, she can, like, sleep still. Alright, so we Bonecrusher, we Ebon Legion, we shock this when it comes into play at the end of our turn. Upkeep shock against counters. No, if I play it during their upkeep, they could activate Grim Lavamancer and kill my Knight of the Ebon Legion in play in response. So I explicitly did it on my turn in spite of the fact that they could have a counter spell, because I didn't want them to kill my Knight with the activation. This card taps to deal 2 damage to something. Untapped land would actually be an okay draw next turn, so we could Ashiok plus Phoenix. Or perhaps Phoenix plus Activate Knight. Get a little bit of beatdown goings. Do I dig for Kroxa or do I smack them? So I'm hitting them for 7. It would be 10. I think I'm just activating. This looks like a matchup where I probably want to pull up a little bit and be a little bit more interactive. So I think Ashiok comes out, Heartless Act comes in. I'm going to try my Kroxa, bring in a Nicol Bolas as an expensive Doomblade. This is probably good too, huh? You're a wizard, eh? The witches don't like the wizards, chat. I agree, Juka. I think 3 mana Ashiok is probably the only prison static planeswalker that I think is an appropriate power level and acceptable effect. They hit a sweet spot of this being a hate card, but not like super hateful. Yeah, opponent's deck is super ready for Soulscar for sure. It's a shocking turn of events, opponent. Three cost Oven, sure. That static text is fine. He's not particularly playable though, I don't think. That's really cute. Almost had Noopsie Poopsie there. Of one mind. Feels like a counterspell turn. Get like Lookout Dispersal or something here, so I don't think I want to just jam Nicol Bolas. Read them like a book, chat. Like an open note test. It's been a good set, Ginger. This is one of the 2 decks in the Proven section of my website, and it's definitely going to remain there after this set. I think some of its matchups are kind of linear and dry, but I do think it's genuinely powerful. We stomped their thing while they were tapped out so they couldn't sack it to stop my Bonecrusher Giant from resolving. Meet the King of the Skies. He's a 4/4. He's here to ravage you. I think Solemnity Sagas could be playable. Probably not. I have accepted a Kroxa Mothra Solemnity combo deck for Historic. So that's definitely a thing we're going to do. I don't know how successful of a thing it's going to be, but we will attempt it at least. For a Nimble Obstructionist build around. Sounds good, Fox. I'll get that added. Probably will be something Blue-Red Wizardsy. As far as this goes, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I think this is a deck that easily gets better once Thoughtseize gets added to the format. I think, let's pretend for a second that these Duresses are Thoughtseizes. I think once Thoughtseize is legal, I will probably do something like this, I think. With four Thoughtseize in the main, the curve looks a lot more elegant here. We would have, basically have 8, and then 12, and then 12, and then 4 in the top end. And then, like, extra Ashiok in the board for when Ashiok is good, and some extra shocks for when you want the extra spot removal. Maybe you don't need Agonizing Remorse if you have 4 Thoughtseize, but 6 discard spells is probably plenty. I guess one question you would probably need to ask yourself and figure out is, perhaps the extra discard spells on the board are better as Duress rather than Agonizing Remorse, because having discard spells that are 1 mana could be appealing. Yeah, having access to a Braid in the 75 could potentially be good too. Maybe that's just better than these shocks as a Braid. Yeah, I could see that. Make these a Braids and these Duresses, perhaps. I think if you're looking to play Grixis, I think having Nicol Bolas in this deck adds value over the other more linear deck threats. Like, I've seen some red-black builds that play Spawn of Mayhem, and I really like the kind of mid-range, longer game that this archetype can play because of Nicol Bolas. So both Kroxa and Nick mean that when your deck runs out of gas in the mid-game against mid-range or control, you can still keep up and generate some real card advantage sometimes. So I like that aspect of the blue splash here a lot. I don't know. I feel like the matchups where I want 6 discard spells, I'm probably mostly taking cards that Duress can take. Like, I guess Agonizing Remorse is marginally better against Ramp because Remorse can take Uro against Ramp. But that's like the one upside against like Grixis Control and Esper and Blue-White and Jeskai like we're about to play. Duress is definitely better than Remorse in the sideboard. So, like I said, throughout the set, like, when you're choosing to play interactive cards, you're always kind of crossing your fingers a little bit and hoping that, like, what your interaction is good against is what you're actually going to run into. Sometimes it is, and you're going to have a great time. Sometimes it's not, and you're going to have a bad time. I guess one question is, how soon do I update the decks on my site? Like, I guess I could wait till the 13th. I could probably update them, like, the night before, but yeah, this is like, for example, when Amonkhet Remastered releases, or the couple days before, I'm going to go through all 20 or 30 decks that are on my site and go, okay, these are easy upgrades. These decks want Thoughtseize instead of these discard spells. These red decks want a Braid in their 75, etc. So for people that aren't familiar with my site, all of the decks up here are living deck pages. So it's not just like, you know, an MTG top 8 snapshot where you look at it and see all of these are kept pretty constantly up to date. Sometimes there's a little bit of overlap right when a set releases where they're not, but generally speaking, you can search by power level, by colors, by archetypes, etc. All right, I'm going to hit a quick ad roll while I get set up and get the client restarted, and we flip over to the next one. For our second Magic deck today, we're going to be kicking the tires on some Jeskai Control post-Teferi ban. So we'll be back in just a few. Thanks for hanging out today, folks. Don't go anywhere.